Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Negotiation. And on today's show, we talk with Bessie Lee, former CEO for WPP China, a company she spent 27 years with, and founder at Withinlink, a China-based startup incubator and early-stage venture fund focused on marketing technology for China's advertising, media, and communications industries. On today's show, we cover a lot of ground, discussing the 3 decades of marketing and advertising that Bessie was witness to during her time with WPP, the work she's doing now helping martech startups, how the China market is actually similar to its Western counterparts, and how AI is disrupting the marketing industry in China and abroad. Home to over 4 billion people, the Asia-Pacific region boasts one of the most powerful consumer markets on the planet. Not only is it home to half the world's under 30 population, but it's also home to more than half the world's internet users. It's a market no globally minded brand should ignore, but entering markets like China is no easy task. Just ask the likes of Microsoft, Google, Uber, and Facebook. Times are changing, and with the right partners, doors are slowly opening as more and more companies find success expanding into the markets of the Middle Kingdom. I myself spent 8 years in China, mostly as a venture capitalist, helping early-stage tech companies enter the Asia-Pacific market successfully. This show is dedicated to uncovering and examining successful China entry and growth strategies by interviewing the people behind those success stories. My name is Todd Embley, and welcome to The Negotiation, brought to you by WPIC Marketing and Technologies. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Negotiation, and we're here with Bessie Lee, founder at Withinlink. Bessie, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So why don't you give us a quick little 5-minute overview of your time with WPP?
Okay. First of all, WPP is the only company I've ever worked for right after I graduated from graduate school. I started with them in 1990 in Taiwan, where I'm originally from. Then 2012, I was relocated to China. Then I left WPP in 2017. So altogether, 27 years in just one company. But I felt that 27 years in WPP is sort of prepare me for my startup and also prepare me for investing and incubating the startups that I have on my portfolio now. So I'm really grateful for those 27 years. And within WPP, I came up through the media arms. So out of the 27 years, the first 23 was with JWT Media, then Mindshare, then GroupM. Then my last 4 years with WPP, I was the WPP China CEO. So that's a very brief summary of my time with WPP. And 27 years, I think I've seen the 3 different decades that WPP went through. It's quite an interesting journey, and I'm very grateful to be part of it.
For those who might not know, can you tell us a little bit about what WPP is?
WPP is it's a holding company of various marketing agency groups. So the very famous one like Ogilvy, JWT, Wonderman, GroupM is a media company, and PR like Hill and Knowlton, so on and so forth. I think at one point WPP has a total close to 400 companies under their portfolio. So that's what WPP is about. And I think at one point they're the world's largest, but I don't know whether they're still the world's largest because they went through some changes in the last 2 years. But they're on the way sort of bouncing back. So hopefully they will become the world's number 1 again soon.
So you're with WPP for 27 years. Talk about how WPP changed and grew inside China as, digital marketing was probably quite nascent back in the beginning to where it is now. Can you talk a little bit about its growth and tenure in China?
Sure. I think compared to other holding groups, because in the marketing world, there are at the moment 5 or 6 major global holding groups. So WPP is one of them. You've got Publicis, Omnicom, IPG, Dentsu Network. I think compared to all the other holding groups, WPP did one thing right about China, which is enter China early. So WPP entered China actually with Y&R in the 70s. Yeah, I think it was 1976. WPP didn't acquire Y&R yet. WPP was formed in 1985, but the agency within WPP that became WPP actually entered China early. So, and Martin Sorrell, he started WPP in 1985, and in 1989, only 4 years after he started the group, he held one of the board meeting in Guangzhou in China. So that must be, I remember correctly, that must be the first holding group that has one of their global board meeting in mainland China. I'm not talking about Hong Kong. I'm talking about mainland China in Guangzhou. And that's the year that the Tiananmen Square tragedy happened. But he still had held his board meeting in Guangzhou. So I think that his attitude and what he has done that early, in a way, sort of set the tone and manner and the commitment of WPP to the market of China. So he continued to introduce as many as possible the agency group within WPP to China. So when I was WPP China CEO, at one point we have 90 different entities or brand agency within WPP that were in operation in China. So we have 14,000 people, and we're in, I think, probably 20 cities with real operation. And if we count the below the line promoters, we're in more than 400 cities in China. So it's that entering China early, and the founder of the company was very committed to this market that sent the message throughout the group, and the rest just follow.
So you've been with WPP, let's say through almost three different decades. Can you speak to what China went through as far as their media and advertising growth spurts, and how they were breaking through different ceilings, and what caused different growth stages in media and advertising in China?
I think when WPP first started was late 80s. That's when a lot of the multinational brands started to invest very seriously in the Chinese market. And all of those multinational brands, I think WPP serviced 340 brands out of the Fortune 500. All of them either were already in China or are in the process of entering the market. So that market entry gave WPP Group a fantastic growth. The first, we call it the first bucket of gold for WPP. We just, we have unlimited client service. I think it was between the 80s to the late 90s. So that was a great, good old days. Then what happened became actually a challenge to holding group like WPP, or the traditional advertising holding group, which is the turning point of the internet advertising in China. Before we talk about mobile, I think internet advertising or internet marketing became a serious subject when the internet users in China first hit that first 100 million users. And I think that was in the late 90s or early 2000. So that's when everybody, turned around and realized, oh my God, we have internet that's now in the mainstream with 100 million users, and there's so much time they spend on internet. So that was when, before that point, digital marketing or digital planner was put in a corner, and they were only given budget when the traditional media had used up, and then you got a leftover. So they were working on a leftover budget. But 2000, it was a turning point. It was no longer just a leftover budget. All the clients wanted to know, what do we do with this new but unfamiliar territory? So WPP then, through acquisition and also through organic growth, have developed and acquire and incubated digital agencies within the group. So between 2000 to say the 2011, 2012, that was, I would say, the second growth spurt for the group because of digital marketing. But digital marketing in the on the PC age, it was, it's just a digitalize of the traditional media. So you got the big portal, you got search, you've got early online video sites. They work still pretty much like traditional media. So the scale of an agency still made sense, and clients back then was still enjoying the new growth in the market. So I think that period offered WPP the second bucket of gold. But it was until the mobile hit the market. I think, again, the mobile internet users hit that first 100 million users in the, I think, 2008 or 2009, I can't remember. But it was that time when, again, people suddenly realized mobile has got this big. And because of the arrival of mobile, we have so many different, I guess, apps that at the time, each apps are different, and it's no longer just a scale game. And at the same time, we've got WeChat that's on the rise as well. Social is not just scale, but it's about content. It's about tailored content to the users. And also because WeChat, it also requires you to look into CRM because you have to manage corporate account for clients. And it's also about the same time that Alibaba's e-commerce platform was also gaining a huge traction in the market. And e-commerce, when you try to, Alibaba is an open system, it's not Amazon. So brands you have to run your own stores. So running the e-commerce store is an expertise that doesn't exist in any of the holding company. Ogilvy didn't have that expertise. GroupM didn't have it. None of the PR agency had it. It was actually a specialist agency in the market that completely originated in China. So client had to hire those agencies to come in and help them run their storefront. And in e-commerce, it's all disciplines are happening almost at the same time, simultaneously. So it requires integrated marketing, which is the opposite of the holding group, because each agency, it's sort of compartmentalized, right? So they only are responsible for their own area. So it's the mobile plus the e-commerce and plus the social that started to create challenges for the big holding group. Their scale no longer worked the beauty that they did before, and they don't have the specialty that can satisfy clients' and needs in the e-commerce, in the social content, in the mobile specific marketing area. So it became a leaking bucket. The local specialist agencies in China started to steal the budget away from all the major agencies. And that's when most of the holding companies started to struggle, because their model was relying really just on man hours or human, right? Human capital. There's no technology. There's no real data sitting in those holding group. But when you're in the mobile world, when you're in like I said, e-commerce, it requires integrated marketing. You need to have your hands on data, and you need to work with at least automated technology in order to do constant A/B testing of your creative on the e-commerce storefront to know which one yield the highest click. That continued to be a challenge for the traditional holding company as we speak today. Yeah. So I would say those are the three, if I may, the three different decades. The first two were golden years. For the last 10 years, it hasn't been fun for traditional holding company.
Right. They've really had to scramble to try to keep up.
Yeah. Not just scramble, but the scramble is fun. If you, first of all, you admit that you don't have these skills, and you're happy to embrace, or build a new ecosystem by embracing smaller specialist agency, and you find a way to establish a new collaboration among them, then you can still bring integrated services to the clients. But what happened was in that last 10 years, the first 5 years was really denial. that we can do that, no problem. We can just acquire another company. But if you look at a lot of the agencies that WPP or the other competitors acquire in China, they're still traditional model that require human capital only. Mm-hmm. They still don't join the group with technology, with data. So that first 5 years was still in denial, and they're still celebrating success. It wasn't until the second 5 years in that last decade that I think the holding group realized we can't continue to deny. We really need to, either through acquisition or through some sort of partnership with big platform, to really bring skill sets to compensate the missing pieces from the group. So that's why you will see all the holding group started to acquire data company, started to acquire martech company, especially in the US. Mm-hmm. So that's what I witnessed. And the reason why I left in 2017 was when I was WPP China CEO, I can see that we were struggling. And I was trying to work with several major agency CEOs to see whether we can turn things around. But I just realized that, it's just too difficult to break that mentality. And I only have 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. Where should I spend that 24 hours that would yield or drive a better impact to the marketing world? I just decided to leave the company and spend time with marketing technology startup and help them break into this, old and dated ecosystem and see whether we could get clients and get agencies to embrace technology. Because I personally think that the agency is still a valuable proposition, but the agency need to evolve with the market and evolve with technology and data. So you are still ahead of the client. What happened now is most of the agencies are falling behind the clients when it comes to understanding how technology works, the beauty in marketing. Mm. So clients started to see agency just another commodity. Mm-hmm. So when you can only do execution work, then that's I will give you just execution work, and I will only pay you the execution works fee. I will no longer pay you the fee for the brain. Mm. So that's the challenge that I'm seeing. But I wanted to help agencies who are happy to embrace, happy to work with martech company. Then through these martech young companies, we can help agencies to turn their destiny around.
Give us the 30-second pitch on what Withinlink is so that everybody's up to speed on exactly what you're doing now.
So Withinlink is a uniquely positioned strategic investor and incubator of marketing technology startups in China. We insisted on boutique portfolio so we can spend more time helping our portfolio companies expedite their growth. So we're a small fund anyway. We're not like the big fund where they will have 150 and 200 portfolio companies. We only at the moment we only have 16 companies on our portfolio, but we get to spend really quality time and much more involved than most financial investors in looking into how we can help them grow, how we can help them expedite that growth, so that they can, we work together to break into that old traditional marketing world much quicker, much faster.
Got it. That's great, and we need more of those niche, vertical focused, and with experts like yourself that are involved, that truly know and understand the industry and have the Rolodex and the partnerships and the ability to truly help them grow. What would you say are some of the highlights of recent innovations happening in China now that you're so deeply embedded in the startup ecosystem there with regards to martech?
If you see, there are all sorts of marketing technology innovators and innovations in market, but the core of their model or the core among the users are still social, mobile, and recently artificial intelligence. So quite a numbers of my portfolio has got artificial intelligence in their offering. And right now, because central government has given overarching direction and strategy and measurable KPI of the AI industry development in China. So AI now is a highly encouraged, highly invested, highly incubated sector. So you come across a lot of companies that started to have, if they have AI, they will have stronger AI offering. If they don't have, they're probably in the process of embedded AI into their marketing solutions for clients. So I would say social, mobile, and artificial intelligence are in the center of most recent innovation coming out of China.
Is China truly mobile first, mobile only? Or given that has been said for 5, 6, 7, 8 years now, is there a change to that statement, or does it still stand true?
I think that statement evolved. That statement first started by saying mobile first, but now it has evolved into mobile only. PC is no longer relevant to users. So that's why today, if I come to or if I go to a client's meeting and I look at them, or any company that's still looking at what they can do to optimize their website on PC, I was just a headachy, because you would just be wasting a lot of investment on something that's no longer relevant to the Chinese consumers. So now it's the mobile only.
Can you talk a little bit about the speed of the market in China? I mean, we know it's different. Maybe you can speak a little bit to how it's different, but then how does that affect being able to do advertising, media, and communications in China?
Okay. I know that, you and a lot of your audiences are probably hear so much about people telling you, oh, China is different. China is different. I only agree that phrase, that 50%. I think that phrase is only half right. China has a lot of things in common with the rest of the world, but there are areas that China is unique. I think speed is one of them. China is still a relatively new market. It only opened to the world about 40 years ago. And marketing industry is only roughly 30-year-old sector in China. So when I say marketing, I include brands coming into this market, presenting themselves to the consumers. So the consumers in China are constantly searching for the next new things or next big things to improve their living quality, to differentiate their lifestyles from others, to maximize the potential for earning more money or generating more savings. So you will see the trend of low loyalty, because the consumers, they're bombarded with new offerings, new brands every day. So they're constantly searching for that next big things. It's very easy for them to shift. And Chinese affluent consumers, for a lot of the sector, tend to be much younger as well. So they have I'm telling you, they have the lifetime to experience the next big things, the next new things, whether it's new gadget, new design, new brands, or new life. So when they're constantly chasing for the next big things, it actually presents tremendous pressures for companies who are chasing after these users. So they have to come, again, constantly coming up with new news, whether it's new product news. If you're a Kentucky Fried Chicken, you need to have new menu items, constantly to keep that. So keep your users curious about what you're doing. And because, that urge of coming up with new things, or that pressure, a lot of the companies will introduce, new features when they're only 60, 70% ready, rather than 100% ready. That is probably, unique in China. It's very different from the West. I know that in America, a lot of the companies will want to only introduce a feature when they're 100% ready, but not in China. They will throw it out into the market when they're 60, 70% ready. And then you introduce a new feature, and the customers or the consumer are curious about the new feature, that they will continue to engage with you. They will give you, and because of that engagement, they will give you feedback, real feedback. then you need to make sure, you meaning the companies, right? Once you introduce a 60, 70% ready, a new feature, you then have to quickly move on to a constant evolving or improving mode, because you're getting real-time feedback from your users. Then you have to quickly improve or modify your features to answer to those feedback from the users. So if you look at our WeChat, that's what WeChat is doing. And that's what Alibaba's e-commerce platform has been doing since, 2002. They're constantly evolving. Even today, Alibaba is dominant player, but they're still evolving. They're still introducing new features to the users. So I think it's that, a cat and mouse kind of chasing. Users are chasing the next big things, the next new things. Companies are chasing the users. That just create anxiety among users, among consumers, and creating anxiety among companies. So everybody is in a constant chasing game. That's the speed. That's my take, my understanding of why speed is so important in China.
Speed and anxiety.
Yes, I always think that that A in China stands for anxiety, really.
Well, it's very competitive, right? It's the wild it's the wild east for a reason. You spoke a little bit about AI before, and I wanted to ask you about that, especially in the marketing technology industry. How is AI affecting innovation in that industry and affecting and creating technologies that are emerging now?
I think the widely adopted dynamic creatives technology is a good example of how AI marketing technology is affecting the way that we do marketing in China. For example, we talk about Alibaba's e-commerce platform, Taobao and Tmall. I think at the moment they probably have more than 20 million stores or merchants that are doing business on that platform. For every product that are displayed at storefront, creative is one of the key drivers for clicks or conversion among your users. So Alibaba has recently introduced a dynamic creative SaaS service called Luban for the millions and millions of store operators to adopt. What they do is they use a very simple but a very quick automation technology to match your product shots and your logo with the right background, with the right sort of mood, creative. So you can quickly assemble a very simple creative for your storefront and upload it to your storefront, and then just monitor the performance of the ads. If the ads is not yielding the kind of clicks and the conversion you set to as a KPI, then you quickly uploaded a different version. So it's very often that the storefront operator upload a new creative in the morning, and they will upload another version of the creative in the afternoon. Now, that's a kind of speed and automation that it's almost impossible in the traditional creative agencies, because still today, creative agencies still are asking clients to give them at least 1 month lead time to develop a banner or develop a video ad. But 1 month could be a 1 year difference in China. So you took 1 month, and finally when you come up with the creative, market probably changed already. User probably changed already. And whatever creative that you come up with is no longer relevant. So you have to change anyway. So it's that type of dynamic creative automation technology that is really changing the way that marketers are looking at what's the quickest way to use AI technology and combine AI and automation and to streamline my creative creation process. So Luban is an example, and one of my portfolio company called Kuaizi Technology has produced an even better product than Alibaba's Luban. So what they're doing is working with, when they work with clients' creative agency, they will ask the creative agency not to worry about developing your creative all the way to finished artwork. You just create as many versions of the different creative elements in the creative, like headlines, body copies, product shots, background. And they will discuss with the creative agency and clients to give tags to all the elements. Then once the tags are attached to each of the elements, then they try to match the tag with the user behavior and user interest tag. The matching tags, then the system will automatically assemble the creative together. So within a matter of, 30 seconds, the system is able to create hundreds, if not thousands, of different variations of creative for a brand's commercial, whether it's, a banner or it's a video. They can do video as well, or
Wow.
H5. So that's how quickly these tech companies can help clients turn around. I mean, we're talking about tactical campaign material. So they're helping clients quickly turn around, a tactical marketing material to catch the speed in the market.
Where are agencies and brands spending their time and money and resources creating assets for? Like, what platforms are out there? I'm guessing there's not a lot of spend built into the budget for billboards.
But that's funny because in China, the number one media now is digital media, right? That includes mobile. So the clients will spend the biggest percentage of their budget on digital. Out of home, when you say billboard, whether it's billboard, the traditional billboard, or the digital out of home combined, they continue to be the second largest media in China, not television. So in a way, out of home, I guess in some categories and in some sector is a bit immune to the attack or the disruption caused by the digital media. So out of home is still very big in China. And now a lot of them out of home started to evolve into digital out of home as well. And we have platform in China that does, we call it the smart out of home. So they do programmatic buy in digital out of home, LED sign, LCD signs as well. So that's, they continue to suck away a lot of money from advertisers' budget.
How can transparency benefit the advertising ecosystem in China or even globally? I'm interested, a lot of how important it is in China, but you can speak globally as well.
I think agency industry globally, I'm not just talking about China, globally, right now is under a lot of scrutiny. I think FBI in North America, in the US, in October last year, has just announced that they're kickstarted a formal investigation into how agency is operated, whether there's any misconduct, for instance, taking rebate or kickback from the vendors, or using the name of programmatic buy to margin manipulate on clients' media placement, or taking in gifts, or going on paid holiday by the vendors. Is that sort of misconduct the FBI is investigating? In that sense, China is no different. In China, we have a lot of transparency issue as well. I think 2 weeks ago, we had an interesting viral on the internet in China. There's this new technology entrant company. He hired a so-called social influencer marketing agency in the south of China to do a social campaign for him. So they said they will hire 300 KOLs and they will post. So this guy, they run this e-commerce. They have their own e-commerce store. So this guy was very excited. They said, "Oh, finally, we're spending serious money getting influencers to endorse our product." So when the campaign went live, especially this one particular KOL, very popular. So he was sitting in front of the laptop and watching her fans saying, "Oh, this is a fantastic product. I've already made purchase. I placed an order. Thank you so much for endorsing it, blah, blah, blah. So this guy was so excited. He's like, wow, I'm making great sales tonight. Then he walked over to his e-commerce team and said, how is our sales doing? And the e-commerce team said, so far we had no traffic coming into our store, let alone booking. We had zero booking that night. But on the social campaign, you can see fans claiming they have already placed orders. So a lot of those are actually machine generated. It's not even real. And it's every brand. No brand is immune to that sort of mispractice, if you like. So at the moment, what's sad was because most of the players in the market play the wrong way, if you like. They don't want transparency. All the numbers are inflated numbers. Then the people who are doing it genuinely, they don't get noticed. And brands are just creating clients internally. They're just creating an illusion, really, with all those big impression numbers, click numbers, conversion numbers. Not a lot of those are really actually help the sales. So the reason why I started talking about, transparency will help the market was I think it's time that we really need to get rid of those rats, if you like, in the market and let the people who are doing genuine campaigns get noticed and help clients, first of all, have a fresh look into how they should redesign their KPI and therefore use the genuine players to do their marketing and let marketing be real marketing. Instead of just chasing big numbers so that you deliver your KPI, you can report to your big boss and your big boss can report back to the bigger boss and everybody got promotion. But it's a promotion based on a whole lot of illusion numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, again, some of my portfolio companies are, in the transparency line of work. So hopefully me together with them, we can start creating smaller impact in the industry, then we can get attention, then we can kickstart or trigger something that could become a much bigger impact in the company, in the market. I would really like to see transparency, at least in China. I can't speak for the other market, but at least in China.
I love that, Bessie. I think it's incredibly admirable, and I completely agree. Do you have any tips or tricks or advice for brands, like for the companies, to be able to help them see through the smoke and mirrors of what's being shown to them as far as what these agencies might be doing, where a lot of it's not real?
My advice, or my ask rather, is if I can speak directly to the global CEO or CMO, because the wrongdoing actually started with how KPI is set. And they're the only people, or not only, but they're the first batch of people who need to start accepting that the KPI was wrongly designed, and therefore you trigger the wrong type of behavior. So they need to redesign the KPI and get that KPI cascaded down to each of those markets, especially key markets like China. Then you will trigger the right type of behavior. So for me, talking to the China CMO, there's no use because they had their bigger boss in the headquarters to answer to. So my ask is, if I can just talk to the global CMO at least, show them the real picture, show them the big illusion they're seeing every day, and hopefully we can get them to embrace a real issue and redesign their KPI, and then we finally can see the right type of behavior being triggered. And that force has to come from the very top.
You spoke about bots. Are bots prevalent in the marketing and advertising world in China? And if they're a problem, how big of a problem are they?
Oh, they're a big problem. I know that people say on average 30-40% of the media or advertising are fake. But at one extreme, it case I've seen, 90% of the placement was fake. I would say, because I'm also a member of the Mobile Marketing Association in China. I was the founder and also, the co-chairman for 2 years. And through the tracking SDK that we also association has developed, and we look at what's happening in the market, I would say at least 50% of most of the budget spent in this market are either being seen by bots or machines. It's not real human. That's how serious the problem is.
Last question we ask everybody. What is your number one piece of advice for people or companies who want to go and do business in China?
My advice would be to answer yourself one fundamental question, which is, do you really need to come to China? Because if you don't come. But if you do, come with 100% commitment. Don't just come with your lips, because you're not going to succeed. You're going to fail miserably in China. Come with full commitment and do it in the China way. That's how you're going to break into this market.
Bessie Lee, founder at Withinlink, former CEO of WPP in China. Let me ask, how can people get in touch with you and connect with you, like you, share your content, so on and so on? Potentially they're a startup that want to get involved with Withinlink. Please tell us, where can people go?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. Just search Bessie Lee of Withinlink. You should be able to find me on LinkedIn. If not, bessie.lee@withinlink.com is my email.
Bessie, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I thoroughly enjoy.
Growing a company is hard. Doing it in a foreign market? Exponentially so. The best piece of advice I can give you is not to do it alone. When you start looking across the pond for further expansion possibilities, and I sincerely hope that you do, make sure you choose the right partners to do it with. My good friends at WPIC Marketing and Technologies have almost 20 years of experience helping brands just like yours enter China. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Negotiation, and if you're interested in being a guest or want to connect with me or any of our team, please reach out to us at podcast@wpic.co. And be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. 再见。